Okay, hello everyone. I'm Ester a college student from Biology Education of UNC. I will explain my paper presentation about variation and condition of coral life forms in the coastal area. So first I will begin with identity of journal. Article title is Variation and Condition of Coral Life Forms in the Coastal Area from Jurnal Sumber Daya Aquatic Indo-Pacific, Volume 6, Number 2, page 153 until 164. Publisher is faculty. Publisher is from Faculty of Fisheries and Marine Science, University of Papua. This article accredited Sinthia 3, her age index is 10. In the next slide, I will explain the introduction. Coral reefs are unique ecosystem and only occur in the tropics area. Noted as many as 600,000 species of coral reefs in the world and centralized in the Indo-Pacific and centralized in the Indo-Pacific region. Indonesia accounts for about 80% of the total world's coral reefs that are 200,000 kilometers. The condition of coral reefs in Indonesia is currently experiencing changes that are mainly in the category broken. The average coral cover of life that this condition is still very good and with only about 5.5% and 27%. Diversity, distribution, and coral growth influenced by environment factors like intensity, level of exposure, water temperature, current, water turbidity, salinity, and sustained solid weather physical chemical factors that affected coral's life. Some common forms of coral life forms such as bulbous, branching digitigrade plate, compound plate, fragile branching, and fasting plate, foliate, and microatol. Certain coral life form was able to dominate in a kind of habitat. It depends on every environmental condition or habitat. The various corals colony morphologies provide the physical complexity that characterize coral reefs. Coastal areas as a reef habitat today face high pressure from infrastructure development in coastal areas. Such is the case with the Manokwari Coast, which is one of the distribution of coral reef ecosystem in the Bird's Sea Sea or BHS West Papua. Damage to coral reefs on the Manokwari Coast is caused by destructive fishing such as the use of blast fishing of diffraction and tuberous anesthesia. On the other hand, due to sedimentation and garbage originating from activities on land. Several coral reef studies in Manokwari waters generally describe the occurrence of degradation of living coral areas. Coral colonies morphologies or coral life from rates that vary greatly between species and between environment factors. The purpose of the present study was to determine the diversity of hard coral based on their life form and to assess the condition of reefs by measuring percent cover of live coral in the coastal area of Rendang Airport. So next in this slide, I will explain the methodology of this observation. Data observations were made at three stations, and each station had three substations. Enclosed in the Rendang Airport area, Manokwari. The determination of the station point was carried out by an initial survey, namely direct observation with diving, aimed at obtaining an overview of the distribution of coral life form on the Rendang coast. The research was a visual survey with point intercept transect of or PIT used to collect data. Observation of cover and composition of lifeform was carried out in June until July 2020. PIT method was used because it is fast, efficient, and provides a reasonable estimate for the cover of benthic communities. The PIT method is one of the methods developed to monitor the condition of live corals and other supporting organisms at a coral reef location. Observations were made by stretching a measuring tape with a length of 50 meters drawn horizontally or parallel to the coastline at each station observation point. Transects were placed at three different depths, namely 3.5 and 7 meters. Observations were made along the transect line by recording all categories of growth forms or life forms. Each distance of 0.5 with three repetitions. Data collection of the aquatic environment parameters such as dissolved oxygen, current, water transparency, uh, pH, salinity, and temperature were done in situ at the same station with coral data collection. Next, in this slide, there is a result from observation. In this slide, there is the table 1. Table 1 is environmental parameter condition. So, dissolved oxygen is one of the important parameters to describe the quality of water. Marine organisms require dissolved oxygen for their metabolic activities. The oxygen is used in the body's metabolic processes for growth and breeding of corals. The range of dissolved oxygen found is between 6.1 until 8.2 milligram per liter. In general, the measurements of dissolved oxygen found still supported the growth of coral reefs. Coral reefs grow well in the dissolved oxygen range from 5.8 until 5.2 milligrams per liter. Furthermore, corals could tolerate reduced oxygen concentration, but only until a given threshold determined by a combination of exposure time and concentration. The degree of acidity or pH water describes the concentration of hydrogen ions in particular water. pH measurement results range between 6.7 and 7.9. In general, this observation is a common condition in the Indonesian waters, like tropical, so it can be assumed that this pH range is still very supportive for the lives of coral reefs. Atkinson revealed good coral growth in pH 7.6 until 8.2 3. And a high nutrient. The hydrodynamic process current affects coral growth, reducing the rate of coral eating biota. Affects current measurement result at the study site range from 0.11 to 0.16 meter per second. Water transparency in water strongly supports the growth of coral reefs for life. The water transparency value found is 100%, meaning that light can still penetrate to the bottom of the waters. However, at station 3, the water transparency value is slightly low, with a value of 70%. Water transparency is very closely related to light penetration, which is very important for zooxanthellae and coral animals, especially in the process of photosynthesis. Later in the table 2, there is percentage of coral cover per station. In the table 2, the highest coral cover condition in Rendani waters are at station 1 of 77.66% and station 2 of 75%, categorized as excellent. The lowest percentage at station 3 is 11.3%, which is categorized as poor. The highest percentage of coral cover at station 1 is thought to be due to ideal water conditions for coral growth, and relative is not affected by a residential activity because it is at the end of the Rendani Airport runway zone, which is prohibited for any activity. Meanwhile, the low coral cover at station 3 is due to its position near the Rendani River mouth. The location of water where coral reefs grow is relatively shallow and adjacent to rivers, and runoff certainly experience extreme temperature and salinity fluctuation. In addition, pressure from land close to the source of sedimentation is carried by rivers, carrying material from the mainland. Sediments carried by river flows from the mainland cause turbidity and reduce the sunlight penetration into the water column. In addition, the sediment will settle and cover coral polyps so that it will cause death in coral. The highest average of rubble at station 1 at okay. So the next is later in the table 3 is percentage of rubble and dead coral or dead coral will algae. The highest average of rubble at station 1 at 4.33%, followed by station 2 at 3%, and lastly, station 3 at 2%. The percentage of rubble cover illustrates the magnitude of damage to coral reef ecosystem in water. The threat of damage to coral reefs can originate from nature and result from human activity. Wilkinson explained that natural damage is usually caused by waves, storms, tsunamis, and rising temperature due to climate change. Threats originating from human activity are sedimentation, eutrophication, fishing methods that are not environmentally friendly, because using bombs or poisons. Construction of bridges and ports, waste disposal, and tourism. Okay. Uh, the highest average date coral with algae was found at Station 3 at 8%, followed by Station 1, 7.66%, and lastly Station 2, 7.33%. Byford explained that coral death can be caused by physical and chemical aspects. On the physical aspect of death are the most coral reefs that occur due to being hit by large waves that can destroy coral reefs, while from the chemical aspect is the presence of pollutants from human activities on land that cause eutrophication, sedimentation, pollution, and excessive influx of freshwater from land due to erosion through runoff. Mutakin added that coral that had provided room for the growth of algae as competitors of coral reefs. The highest average of dead coral with algae found in London coastal is comparable with the average of dead corals in the Jayapura, Papua. However, the mean value is lower than that found in several other coral reef ecosystems in Papua, such as in Pasir Putih Waters, Dampier Strait, Nansinam Island, and Lemon Island. In the next slide results there is bulk graphic of various composition of coral life-form. There were two coral life-form found for Acropora, branching HCB, digitate HCB, and amount for non-Acropora, Acropora, sorry, Acropora or non-Acropora distinguish an amount for non-Acropora branching CB, massive CM, submassive coral CS, and mushroom is CMR. Either acropora or non-acropora distinguish from axial correlate presence. Non-acropora had an axial correlate but had both axial and radial correlates. There are various compositions of coral lifeforms in all three locations. Hard corals or non-acropora dominate the percentage of cover. The highest coral lifeform was found at Station 1. Six types and mostly is non-acropora types: massive, submassive, branching, and mushroom. In contrast, the type of acropora including branching and digitate are only found at a depth of 7 meters. Addition to coral liform were found in as many as 4 types, with 2 types of non-acropora, massive and submassive found at all depths. Acropora including branching and digitate are only found at a depth of 7 meters. This condition provides an overview of the distribution of corals that are affected by environmental conditions in London waters, where the morphology of corals formed is an adaptation to local conditions. Environmental factors, in this case temperature, depth, and currents, are to have an important influence on this variation. Fluctuation in environmental conditions will affect growth rates of growth and coral reproductive abilities. Thus, I can conclude that the variation of corals on the Rendani waters was low, indicated by the occurrence of all coral life forms. The highest coral variation was observed at 7 meter depth with 5 life forms, and the lowest was at 3 meter deep with 3 life forms. The live coral cover reached 77.66% at station 1 and 75% at station 2, both indicating an excellent coral reef health. The highest average operable at station 1 at 4.33%, followed by station 2 at 3%. On the on the other hand, the coral with algae was found to be highest at station 3 at 8% and followed by station 1 at 7.66%. Okay, I think that is all for me. I hope my explanation, this presentation is useful and easy to understand to the audience. Thank you and goodbye.